Fannin Houghton, the Dean of the Faculty, and it is my privilege to host this year's Flagler College Baccalaureate Ceremony. This time I'd like to invite the stage party to come forward, followed by the faculty. This is a new tradition. Forgive me. This is a new tradition begun just a few years ago at Flagler. Yet baccalaureate ceremonies themselves are centuries old, and they have an important symbolic and ritualistic dimension. Graduation, the ceremony at which degrees are formally conferred, is an appropriately public event, open to families and the broader community. A baccalaureate service is a more intimate affair, takes place entirely within the community of a college or a university. More fundamentally, it's an event that recognizes the accomplishment of you, the students, and the change that has happened within each of you during your course of study here at Flagler College. Indeed, we, the faculty, are regaled in our academic robes, not to bring solemnity to this occasion, though it may indeed do that. Rather, at graduation, right, we wear these robes to kind of make the ceremony seem formal. We're dressed today as a gesture of respect for what you, the students, have accomplished during your years here. While we won't subject you to a 4-hour ceremony or force each of you to give a sermon in Latin, as was the common practice in small American colleges for more than a century, we want to today recognize that your accomplishments have transformed you in powerful ways, and that as a result of that transformation, you have actually now achieved a new status within our community, which is appropriate for us to take a moment of ceremony to recognize. That new status that you now have will be publicly ratified and promulgated at convocation, at graduation, commencement, when you receive your degree. This afternoon, Brett Keeley will offer our invocation. A member of the Honors Program and the Presidential Leadership Academy, Brett's been a member and leader of many organizations at Flagler, a Flagler ambassador, lead resident advisor, tutor in the Learning Resource Center, and an embedded tutor for French courses, an orientation leader, and a founding president of Le Cercle Francophone. I'd ask you to please stand for the invocation. Brett.
Hello, everyone. I would like to first congratulate you on all of your hard work and determination. It was not easy, but you did it, and you did it well. You came to Flagler surrounded by strangers, and leave with a newfound family. While there were certainly good days and bad, each and every moment at Flagler has contributed to your story, your reality. The reality that you created for yourself when you took a chance on a tiny school in the nation's oldest city. Now, as we look to the future, I would assume that many of you are overwhelmed by the reemergence of that uncertainty that you felt when you started at Flagler. I know I feel it the closer we get to graduation. But I know you will be just as successful in the future as you were here at Flagler. My wish for you is that while the chaos and uncertainty may feel overwhelming, take a moment today and the weeks that come to enjoy the uncertainty. The world is yours. You have the ability to do whatever it is that you would like to do. get lost in your imagination. Be unreasonable. Set your goals as high as you can. At the end of the day, your potential has no limit. I encourage you to keep writing your story. Make that story your reality and enjoy every step of the way. Your Flagler family will be supporting you wherever you go. Thank you. Now please join me in welcoming John Delaney, President of Flagler College.
Would once again, please be seated. Welcome everybody who's here, our seniors and our faculty, but also that are here virtually, the family and friends that are able to dial in. Art kind of gave a picture of what this is. This is a noteworthy event. Often baccalaureates are tied right on the cusp of graduation. And when the college decided to not do a fall graduation, consolidate in the spring, they felt this would be the appropriate time to do a senior celebration, particularly for those that may be graduating this semester or have finished all their coursework. And that senior year is indeed something to celebrate. It's a long climb to get through this, and the only way you get to graduation is the personal work and the effort on your own personal part. So we want to celebrate you and your accomplishments, and then have you just take a moment to kind of reflect back on what you've done the past few years, personally, intellectually, civically, the friends that you've made, the people that you've met, and the faculty that you've worked with. The faculty and the staff here truly care about the students at Flagler College. It's one of the defining identities of this particular college, and we care about you even when you do graduate. I have the opportunity to do a lot of traveling and visit alumni groups up and down the East Coast, and those that were here 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago literally will start to tear up to talk back about their experiences and how fond they are of the place. And the friendships that you've made here will most likely endure with you for the rest of your life. I myself have friends that, a circle of friends that met in college, and we've been in each other's weddings and celebrated the bar mitzvahs and the baptisms and gone to each other's parents' funerals. And it's a bond that's just, it'll never change. It'll never be broken. So we want to commend you for your resilience and determination. That's what it takes to get a college degree. And you withstood a lot to get to this point, and we want to celebrate that for you today. At this point, I'm happy to introduce our faculty speaker, Mr. Jim Tedman, who served as the director on the Forum of Government and Public Policy since 2012. Previously, he was the AARP bulletin editor for 7 years. Prior to that, or during that time, he interviewed then President Barack Obama. Before that, he was a reporter and editor for the Boston Herald, the Baltimore News Americans, and Newsday. He's covered local government, he's covered Congress and the White House, and has reported from 3 continents. His editorials for the News American won first place in the Maryland, Delaware, D.C. Press Association 3 times, and he's a member of a team of reporters that were awarded the Pulitzer Prize for Public Service, and he won a special citation from the Inter-American Press Association for a series of reports from Central America. Originally from Ohio, he attained his bachelor's degree from the College of Worcester. He studied at the University of Queensland, Australia as a Rotary Foundation Fellow. Also studied at Columbia University's Graduate School of Journalism, which recognized him as a distinguished alum in 2017. Please join me in welcoming Jim Tedman to the podium.
You could have done that in half the time, and I would have more time to talk to you. President Delaney, Vice President Van den Houten, trustees, faculties, parents, and graduates-to-be, I'm honored and, in fact, humbled to be here. I'm here because I think I'm the oldest guy on stage, which means I've seen a lot. My goal is to share some of the highlights and insights I've gained and leave you with one clear message on this day of excitement, achievement, and high hopes. I'm also the product of a small college like Flagler, a small place in Central Ohio, which continues to have a very strong and quite special bond. Excuse me, learned there. Lessons that I learned there and friends that I acquired there have affected virtually every stage of my life. I wish the same for you. It's also where I first learned the 4 rules for a baccalaureate address. Number 1, realize that not all you say will be heard and little will be remembered. 2, don't try to cover the universe in one morning. 3, try to suggest a few things of interest or use in the hope of at least one of them, in retrospect, may be remembered. There's only one requirement in this quartet. Before you quit, manage to say the best thing you know, the thing on which you would willingly bet your life, even if what you say is wrong. The occasion demands that sort of sincerity, so you're going to get it. My greatest challenge, despite my age and perspective, is telling you seniors something of relevance, given the change that has occurred in your lifetime with the environment, with disease, with communications, and with our society. Most of you were born in 2003. The internet was new and novel, whose potential was hardly known, and it probably still isn't. Then on January 9th, 2007, just 4 years later, Apple introduced something called the iPhone, that little handheld magical gadget combining communication, calculation, and connection. Everything changed when you could put the world in your pocket. The world population today is 7.4 billion. There are approximately 18 billion cell phones in pockets around the world. Indeed, in your lifetime, everything has changed. In my lifetime, as you heard, I dedicated myself to journalism, to searching and discovering facts and spreading the word as far and as fast as I could. I've visited 36 countries, I've traveled with 2 popes, interviewed 5 presidents, covered 10 presidential elections, flown on a supersonic jet, and played center field for Jimmy Carter's softball team in Plains, Georgia. Let me introduce you briefly to one of the most interesting people I've met, a fellow by the name of Francis Collins, he's a scientist who just retired as the head of the National Institutes of Health. He grew up in rural Virginia, where he was homeschooled by his parents, who were determined that their sons know the joy of learning new things, and especially develop the lifelong habit of curiosity. You leave Flagler today with the knowledge of new things learned during your time here. More importantly, you are equipped with tools to learn for the rest of your life and experience the joy of learning all these things. What I hope most today, though, is to instill in you the instinct for the other avenue, the lifelong habit of curiosity. Francis Collins devoted his life to science. Throughout his career, the secret sauce for him was his curiosity, the curiosity that he had learned as a child. Curiosity to inquire further, to deal with failure or dead ends in his research by seeking new avenues, by digging a little deeper, by turning one more page. Consider the great benefit of his curiosity. He went on to direct something called the Genome Project, a multi-year project that in the 1990s identified the 20,000 genes in the human body. Along the way, there was disappointment, frustration, deadlock, and delay. But he and his team never stopped searching, which in turn is turning medicine and the discovery and treatment of illness on its head. Genetic research has dramatically changed the prospects of those with cystic fibrosis first, then a variety of other diseases, and certainly today, cancer. Most recently, because we knew the genetic makeup of COVID-19, we saw the usual 9 years it takes to develop a vaccine reduced to 11 months. You get the point. Hit a dead end, keep searching. Look around the corner, expand your horizons, peek through the keyhole. Borrowing from that famous modern philosopher, Taylor Swift, let me suggest you live the lyrics from folklore. I'm still a believer, I don't know why. I've never been a natural, all I do is try, try, try. Or just gaze. Take another look at what's around you. Curiosity drove Rachel Carson. A biologist, Rachel Carson wrote a remarkable book called The Silent Spring in 1962. That powered the drive to reduce the use of pesticides. It also caught the attention of then President John F. Kennedy and quickly became an inspiration and guidebook for the environmental revolution that was to follow in the 60s and 70s. Rachel Carson loved the sea. Students who have spent 4 years in and around Flagler will appreciate that. No doubt you seniors and your parents, if they've been lucky, have discovered the St. Augustine magic of sand in your toes. It is my wish that you leave here with curiosity to the world around, below, and above you, what Rachel Carson calls the sense of wonder as you contemplate the present and look to the future. Listen to her plea. It is our misfortune, she wrote, that for most of us, that clear-eyed vision, that true instinct for what is beautiful and awe-inspiring is dimmed and even lost as we reach adulthood. If I had influence with the good fairy who is supposed to preside over the christening of all children, I would ask that her gift to each child in the world be a sense of wonder, so indestructible that it would last throughout a lifetime as an unfailing antidote against the boredom and disenchantment of later years. Curiosity can also serve you in your personal life. 20 years ago, the New York Times started a modern love column that has grown into a blog, several books, and remains a regular feature of the Sunday paper. On the occasion of the 20th anniversary last summer, columnist Daniel Jones looked back on the lessons they had learned. Curiosity topped the list. The most popular modern love column written in the New York Times was entitled 36 Questions That Lead to Love. It was viewed by 75 million people. And his suggestion for those seeking friendship and companionship in 2024 was this: be curious instead. Curiosity is more appealing, he wrote, than your accomplishments. Be curious instead. We haven't yet talked about AI, or as some of my contemporaries call it, A1. You are entering a workplace that, because of the rapid advances of AI, is changing faster than any work environment before it. Jobs will be eliminated, jobs will be created, and we don't know which and won't know which will be which. What we do know is that curiosity helps put you in control. There's nothing artificial about curiosity. Utilizing it to broaden your horizons, to expand your knowledge, to help you adapt to change with flexibility gives you an essential advantage. Let me conclude with what I think is the most important role for your curiosity, namely your search beyond your comfort zone for common sense, for common truth, for common wisdom. The world you're entering is a world with no precedent when it comes to how we gain, share, and acquire information, facts, and truth. With your graduation, you enter a world overwhelmed by an explosion of information and undermined by the splintering, if not the collapse, of the structure that has gathered and delivered credible information for nearly a century, which is to say the newspapers, the radio news, the TV reports. In your lifetime, the number of daily and weekly newspapers in the United States has dropped by 1/3 to 6,000 that remain today. They are still closing at the rate of 2.5 papers a week. Not surprisingly, 2/3 of the 40,000 journalists working in 2003 have lost their jobs. The information machinery today consists of 6,000 newspapers, 550 digital-only news sites, and 215 broadcast stations, 1.1 billion websites, 31 million bloggers. Add to the mix influencers. Half of the reporters credentialed at last summer's political conventions were called influencers, those individuals who have created their own followings and were the primary source of political news for those under 30. And what's happening to the audience? According to the Pew Research Group, network TV news viewership has dropped 1/3 in just the last 4 years. 86% of Americans say they get their news online, including half who cite social media, primarily Facebook and YouTube for starters, and followed now quickly by Instagram and TikTok. Only 12% still rely on newspapers, and the average time spent with a newspaper is down to 1.5 minutes. How many people are talking about it? Consider TikTok, which has 170 million users in the United States. Further, half of those between 18 and 29 say they got all of their political news in the last election from TikTok. Today, the trend is away from fact, away from truth, toward too much opinion, hype, exaggeration, and myth. Simply put, we have retreated into silos of convenience. It's a 21st century form of self-defense that sociologists call balkanization, or bias affirmation, or cognitive dissonance, or tribalism. It means we coalesce around an array of ideas and attitudes that we're comfortable with and reject or ignore everything else. And we look with disdain at those with contrary attitudes and stop asking questions, all of which blunts curiosity. You seniors, each of you, has the daunting task of reversing that inward focus. In this age of intensified polemics, of algorithms, bots, and viral attacks, it may seem easier to take a pass. But as citizens, you have another responsibility, and that is to avoid the silos, to engage, to reach out, to make the effort to sort fact from fiction and distortion, to reach out from your comfort zone, be curious instead. At this point, baccalaureate speakers addressing the soon-to-be graduates would ordinarily provide some variation of "the sky's the limit." Let me do you one better, borrowing from the Tibetan author and philosopher Pema Chodron, to say to the Flagler seniors, you seniors, are the sky. Everything else is just weather. You are the sky. Everything else, it's just weather. Curiosity will help you plow through the fog, the smog, the rain and snow, even the occasional hurricane. You have options. You can be boastful, smug, and overconfident, unyielding, bored, self-indulgent, and content with your information bank, or you can follow the alternate path I'm suggesting, a path that has been validated through history. My advice in 3 simple words: be curious instead. Thank you very much. Now, I'm delighted to introduce Lily Dietz, who is going to provide a senior response. Lily is from Amelia Island, right nearby, but since she came to Flagler, she has spent travel around the world. She majored in journalism and digital presentation, or some magical word that I don't quite grasp. But she also was a Pulitzer Grant winner, a wonderful program that we have here at Flagler that allowed her to go to Finland and study homelessness, where, interestingly, the Finns have figured out a way to reduce homelessness. So here's our Pulitzer Prize winner, Lily Dietz.
I'm a little too short for that. Good afternoon, everyone. Faculty, staff, friends, and of course, my fellow class members of the Flagler College class of 2025. First and foremost, let me just say, we did it. That round of applause is very much well-deserved for having not only survived the test, overly long research papers, and the group projects, or that one person disappears on you mysteriously. We all know who you are, and I'm looking at you. But also for the registration periods that felt a little too much like a Hunger Games reenactment. I stand here today, and I cannot help but reflect the first moments at Flagler. Do you remember stepping onto campus for the first time, looking up at Ponce de Leon Hall and thinking, wow, this place is way too nice for me to be living here? But seriously, Flagler College has been more than a campus. It's been a family, a quirky, chaotic, wonderfully weird family. Over the years, we've shared more than just early morning classes and residence halls. We've shared midnight study sessions in the Proctor Library, the occasional conspiracy theory about who Louis the Lion is, and probably way too many 2 a.m. taco shop visits. These moments may seem small, but together we've created memories that will carry us for a lifetime. Now, let's not forget the awesome professors who have made this journey unforgettable. They have been the people to inspire us, push us, and sometimes confuse us. However, they never gave up on us. Even when we handed in an assignment that started with, "Hey, I know this was due last week, but..." Professors, thank you for your patience and your passion. I'd like to say a special thank you to Professor Sandra Gehring, who has been with me since day one. Not only did she help me with my Pulitzer grant, but she also has pushed me in ways I never thought possible. Another special thank you to Dr. Paige Chapman, who has carried the department on her hands and knees. Not only has she listened to me rant about anything and everything, but she also takes time to meet each and every one of her students and learn what they're passionate about. And finally, I feel like I would cop out if I didn't say a special thank you to Dan McCook, who has pushed me in ways I did not think possible and also tested my patience. But he has taught me to grow not only within myself, but also to inspire others to do what they love and to be prepared for the future, which I don't think I really am. Let's talk about the lessons Flagler has taught us beyond the textbooks. Here, we learn success is not perfection, it's a progress. It's okay to change your major multiple times, to fail, and to have to start over again. We found that community matters, lifting each other up and celebrating each other's wins, no matter how big or small. Flagler has taught us resilience, from powering through finals, balancing internships, and pretending not to notice the ghost stories about Ponce de Leon Hall. We have proven that we can face whatever life throws at us. Well, except maybe the King's Tide floods that are so deep you could float down the street in a burger pool float. We all remember that video, I'm sure. As we get ready to leave this place, I want to remind you that Flagler isn't just a chapter of our lives, it's a foundation. It's the place that taught us to dream big and to take risks, to embrace the unknown with confidence and curiosity. And let's be honest, if we can survive parking on this campus, we can survive anything. So, class of 2025, here's my advice. Be bold, be kind, and never stop learning. The world out there might be tough, but let's remember what we've accomplished here together. We've laughed, we've cried, we've grown, and now we're ready to take on whatever comes next. And if you ever feel overwhelmed, just remember, we're saints. We've conquered Lewis parking lot, 8 a.m. classes, and the struggle to find Wi-Fi in Keenan. We've got this. Congrats, class of 2025. Let's go out and show the world what we're capable of. Thank you, and go Saints. Now, please join me in welcoming Emily Vogel, who is the Alumni Engagement and Events Coordinator.
Thank you, Lily. Seniors, today I want to invite you to join in a Flagler tradition. As freshmen, you took an oath at convocation, pledging to uphold the college's core values. Over the past few years, you've lived those values through uncertainty, challenges, and plenty of fun. And today, we celebrate that. We hope these values will always guide you, whether you're choosing a job, volunteering, or supporting a loved one. As Flagler alumni, you're a part of our network for life, and we're so proud to call you one of our own. Now, seniors, if you will please join me and open your programs to the center fold and stand so we can recite the senior pledge. I'll read a line and you can read after me. As a graduate of Flagler College, I pledge to remain true to our core values. To commit myself to a lifetime of transformative learning. To inquire, to value the freedom of expression. and to cherish the bond of all of those who have taught me. To build respectful and inclusive communities wherever I might find myself. To be an ethical citizen, committed to honesty, integrity, and individual responsibility. To be a thoughtful steward of natural and financial resources. Of one another and the historical legacy of Flagler College. I will diligently pursue the advancement of my own knowledge. Cultivate compassion for my community. And never stop pursuing a life well lived. It is with honor and humility I make this pledge. Thank you, seniors. You can now be seated. We can't wait to see where your future might take you. Congratulations, seniors. It is now my pleasure to call upon the Dean of Academic Life, Dr. Craig Wolfel.
Thank you, Emily. Welcome, everyone. This is the announcements portion of the program, so hold your applause. A few sort of housekeeping things just as we shift from today and look ahead to next spring's commencement ceremony. That commencement, you don't have to write this down, is on Sunday, May 10th at 9 a.m. at the amphitheater, and rehearsal will be held the day before that in the afternoon. There is a Flagler commencement webpage that's regularly updated with FAQs and information to everyone about the ceremony, and updates will get sent to your Flagler email. So if you're finishing now, do monitor that email and check in on if you plan to come back for commencement. This is especially true for information regarding tickets. This year, every graduating senior will get 6 tickets for family and friends. So as you talk to your family and friends and begin to plan for the spring, you can plan around that. But before we get to any of that, let's celebrate today. So a reminder that immediately after this ceremony, we will go out and across the street into the rotunda and the dining hall for the senior celebration and champagne toasts, which will be led by President Delaney. And first, before we get to that, to close out this afternoon's ceremony, we'll shortly welcome Flagler College's choir. For your last assignment, remember this part. Please stay seated for the first song, and then rise as the choir leads us in the singing of the alma mater. After that, this is the very tricky part, just stay in your seats and remain standing as we begin the recessional, and you'll be excused at the end of that. So without further ado, please welcome the Flagler College Choir, the Key of C's.
'cause you're not so far away. I hear you say
you never walk alone.
Singing, don't be afraid of the dark in your heart. You're gonna find a way to carry the weight of the world on your shoulder. You're gonna find a way. Don't be afraid of the light. It's all alright. You're gonna find a way to carry the weight of the world on your shoulder. You're gonna find a way. You will find a way. You'll find your way home.
All right, we'll now begin the recessional with the stage party. Followed by our faculty. wait for it. All right, thank you and congratulations. We'll see you across the street for some champagne.